is another episode of AEW Unrestricted, the official podcast of All Elite Wrestling. It is Thursday. We are here. We are talking about wrestling. And it is also Halloween. Happy Halloween. Will, do you do things with your kiddos, or have they grown out of it?
Oh, yeah. No, no. I don't even want them to grow out of it. Are you kidding me? They are, so they're 13 and 10. So it's very much, we live, our neighborhood's in this circle. So we have to like go around the inner circle first. And then we do the outer circle. And we usually end up with loads and loads of candy. And it usually lasts till Christmas.
Nice.
So yeah, we are very much a Halloween family. I'm big on like big stupid costumes. That's like my thing. As a matter of fact, if anybody has been watching the video edition of this show for any extended amount of time, you may have noticed there's a big panda mask over here. That was definitely from Halloween 2019, where I was a big old panda. This year, I have to be a frog because my daughter wants to do this princess and a frog thing. Okay. So I have to dress in a giant frog costume. So that's me. Respect.
So, Will, who is our guest today?
Aubrey, we are joined by a man who is synonymous. With the Ring of Honor brand. He has been the voice of Ring of Honor as long as you've been watching Ring of Honor. Mm-hmm. He is the one and only Bobby Cruz. Bobby, thank you for being a part of AEW Unrestricted.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
I'm so stoked. I'm so stoked for this. I literally had someone tweet at me like, hey, why haven't you had Bobby Cruz on the podcast? I'm like, that is a solid question. Why have we not had Bobby Cruz on the podcast? Hey, Stacy, please get Bobby Cruz. And then boom, here we are. So it's like freaking Christmas.
I had a feeling that was why. Like I saw that tweet and then all of a sudden I see on our guest list Bobby Cruz. And I'm like, okay, these had to go hand in hand. But, you know, Bobby, you know, this is, it's almost like a full circle moment, right? Because like, going back to other podcast days, you and I have worked together before, and so for this to now to be here is kind of cool, and it's like it's almost like the exact same setting. Like I'm seeing you sitting here, and I'm like, oh yeah, this reminds me of Beyond the Bells back in the day. It's like this is.
It's just except this time I'm not the boss.
Yeah, that was the thing, was I was working for you. So.
Oh, I did not know this. This is fun.
Yeah, so it's fun, and it was great to get you into the AEW realm and to get you into the AEW family. It felt like it was a long time coming, and now we get to see you on a regular basis.
Yeah, it has been a long time coming, and probably longer than some people may realize. Maybe stories that'll never be told, but. You know, when AEW started, of course, I was under contract to Ring of Honor. And then you fast forward and just look at the work I've been able to do with you guys in AEW and Ring of Honor, and seeing so many old friends from the Ring of Honor days, or meeting new people that I really have a ton of respect for, and the awesome crew that we have. So, yeah, it's one of those full circle things, I guess. And it's been a blast. I'm having the time of my life as far as my ring announcing career goes right now.
Awesome. Love it. Oh, man. I mean, Will kind of opened it up saying that, like, a voice that's synonymous with Ring of Honor, like, I can't hear Ring of Honor without thinking of you. And that's fantastic. And I remember when there was sort of this ROH, like when ROH was being purchased by Tony Khan, and you start running through all the things in your head of like, ooh, I wonder if this is going to happen. I wonder if this is going to happen. And one of the things on my list was, we got to bring Bobby Cruz, right? Like he's like the guy. So I'm just so happy that it happened. And now I get a chance to like work with you and whatnot.
No, I'm thrilled about it too. And I have a quick funny story about that actually So, you know, we find out TK buys Ring of Honor. Supercard of Honor that year, 2022, had already been announced by the previous ownership. And I was not thrilled, I guess, with the way some of the things were handled, especially with my kind of role in management with the women's division in 2021. I would have liked to have been a little bit more in the know as to what was going on, but I found out in that late October call, just like everyone else did, and not much heads up. And I was really concerned about friends of mine, obviously. And so come to find out, you know, TK announces he's buying it, and I think it was a few days later I got a text by Hunter Johnston, at that time was working as the middleman kind of between TK taking over Ring of Honor, and of course, he was the executive producer for the previous regime, and said, "You want to work Supercard?" And I said, "Yes, of course." He said, "Okay, let me confirm it, whatever." So somebody from AEW had reached out about asking about me. The next week, after Supercard, was my first appearance on AEW. It was FTR versus the Young Bucks, which was a match that included the ROH World Tag Team titles. And it was in Boston, which is awesome. My daughters are there. And now here I am wondering what was happening with my announcing career and going from doing a Supercard of Honor for Tony Khan, who I wanted to work for Tony since he started, to now I'm on Dynamite. I mean, it was like a whirlwind for me in like 5 days. And a former Ring of Honor talent, I don't know if he wants this known, who was with AEW, had brought up the idea of being their personal ring announcer kind of thing, because they wanted to be like doing ROH thing. Kind of like the stuff I used to do with Steve Corino back in 2003, 2004.
Yeah.
Without the language, obviously. And so I said, yeah. I said, and so it ran it by a couple people, and somebody came to me and said, yeah, I think it's a great idea, but Bobby, you're really expensive. And I remember thinking to myself, I never really discussed any sort of financial thing. I did Supercard with the amount that was asked. And I said, oh, yeah, of course. I was very happy with that. Very generous. And so I was like, what do you mean? So it had come about, talk about full circle, when the previous owners of Ring of Honor were going to run Supercard that year. I gave them a ridiculous price. Like, absolutely. Yeah, people can say I'm like Mr. Ring of Honor ring announcer, but the way things went down and the way things had continued to go down for the first couple months of that year, and again, being really concerned with my friends who had bought some new houses, and so I wasn't happy with the way they handled it, basically. So I gave them a ridiculous price. Well, AEW, the people at AEW that I was dealing with, thought that was my price, my per night price. And I said, no. No. So I had to, that night in Boston, thankfully, face-to-face, clear it up and say, okay, I'll explain that, up the chain kind of thing. I said, no. That was the price for the old ownership. Now, this is completely different for what I'll work for here now. So that was kind of funny, but it was almost scary, because if they wouldn't have asked me, maybe they wouldn't have continued to use me, just thinking I had this ridiculous price in mind.
Yeah, so just to keep Will in the know, because I know he knows people on the inside, but like in wrestling, there's typically like your regular rate, your brother rate, and then your FU rate. Which
that was like, the FU rate. The FU rate went to that.
It's the people you don't want to work for, but if the number's ridiculous enough and they meet it, then you're willing to kind of like do the show. So no, there's different rates for different people.
Yes,
peeling back the curtain on that one quite a bit. Oh my God.
That was the FU rate.
All right. So I want to talk about the history with Ring of Honor, because as somebody who, I didn't get into Ring of Honor till about 2004. But by that point, Bobby Cruise is well established as voice of Ring of Honor. How did that come about for you? What was the original conversation like for you? You started with Ring of Honor in 2003?
Technically, yes. Steve Corino, who I mentioned before, I had met Steve a couple years before, around 2001. I was booking a company up here in Massachusetts, and we would run some events where we'd bring in a quote-unquote name or two, right, a headline, some bot shows, telemarketed shows, and ECW was just kind of going away at that point. So I reached out to Steve, and he came up. And first time we met, and as he says, we kind of hit it off. And he was running his own company, the PWF, which ended up becoming World One in conjunction with Zero One, he was in Japan constantly with Zero One back then. Once a month on a Sunday night in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, which, listen, I love seeing fans and I love going. I hope I never have to go back to Pottstown, Pennsylvania again. At least from here. I mean, it's just a torturous drive. Boring, long. It's way out there in Pennsylvania. And I would, it's always a Sunday night. I'm working the show, and then I come back and drive overnight and go to the day job. And I'm like, this is just, but it all worked out. It was great. So one day I get on the old AOL IM. You remember that one?
Oh
yeah.
Brother.
AIM. I was a big AIM guy.
I get a what do we call it? Instant message from Corino. saying, "Hey, I have this idea. I'm going to go back to Ring of Honor. I want to have my own personal ring announcer, and I want you to do it." And he ran the idea past me, and I said yes very quickly, because it was one of the coolest things I ever heard for a ring announcer. The chance to get out there and just really announce one person, but be an a-hole about it, to me, I thought was just something. It was just something I'd never done before, and I thought it'd be a really cool thing. So we did that several times. Always got reactions that we were looking for, except the last one or two started to get some cheers instead of the Ring of Honor fans telling me to shut the F up. So we said, oh, this is maybe kind of run its course. And there was a show, two shows, Dayton, Ohio, and Chicago weekend, where we were going to do the Carino intros. And Carino actually got pulled from those Ring of Honor events to go to Japan to 01. And Gabe Sapolsky, who was the booker at the time, said, well, you're already coming. Why don't you just be the ring announcer for the shows? And I said, you really want me to do it straight like I do as a ring announcer? He says, yeah, let's do it. So I did those two events. And then there was another one in Lexington, Mass, near Boston up here, where they had asked me to do that one. And that was in May, I think, of 2004. And I don't think there was much else. They had asked about maybe me being the East Coast guy. And then I think it was October or November of 2004, Carrie Silken, the longtime former owner of Ring of Honor, called me and he said, how's it going? Yeah. He said, hey, if the ring announcing spot becomes available, would you take it? We want you to be our ring announcer no matter where we go, Chicago, Boston, New York, Tokyo, whatever. We want you to be our ring announcer. So I knew they had a ring announcer at the time. So I kind of, I was like, well, my answer was, if it becomes available, I'll take it. And he said, okay, give me an hour.
Oh, no.
About a half hour later, he called me back. He said, okay, it's available. So,
what?
Yeah, that's how that went down. And
oh,
so
my God.
Their ring announcer they had been using was not very happy with me.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
it's not like it's your fault.
What did I do? Yeah, I mean, like
you were just available.
I said, would you want me to say no? I won't take it. Ring of Honor was the cool thing at the time, and it was really going to get me out there traveling more. And so, so I took it, and that was November of 2004. It was Weekend of Thunder with Jushin Liger. Yep. I remember the first night. Actually, the first night was actually in Boston, which is great. So my first night as the lead ring announcer for Ring of Honor was in Boston, and it was headlined by Jushin Liger and Bryan Danielson. So not a bad way to get going.
That's a fantastic way. Just no big deal. Just just two legends. Whatever.
Yeah, right. They were okay.
Oh my God! So you've gotten to work with tons and tons of talent that have come through Ring of Honor that have become, international stars. Bryan Danielson, Samoa Joe, Nigel McGuinness, like the list goes on and on and on and on. Are there any moments that you can look back at and go, these guys are going to be the guys?
It's funny because Ring of Honor, back when we really started cranking, was kind of put in a bubble. And it was like, well, these guys, no one else is going to want these guys. These other places, not that there were many places to go. That's why Ring of Honor was a needed alternative back then. It was you saw the star power, you saw the natural charisma a guy like Samoa Joe had. I mean, it just oozed it as soon as you saw him. Never mind the stuff he did in the ring. He just had a natural presence about him and so forth. And then it was really cool. And it's really cool to reconnect with a guy like Nigel all these years later. Because I saw him when he first came in, had moved from the UK, was training with Les Thatcher back then down in the Ohio area. And just to see him evolve. I saw him evolve from a guy just trying to get a spot to a mid-card guy to main eventing in Liverpool against Danielson in the unification bout. So, you can. I have seen it over the years, and it's amazing. Like someone like Joe or someone like Nigel or the Briscoes, or I'm going to leave out people. Even Adam Cole, came in a little bit later during our HD Net days. You could see, young kid, but you could just see something was going to happen, and usually it does.
Mm-hmm.
Man, what a great conversation. And there's so much more I want to talk about as far as the history of Ring of Honor and some of the things you've gotten to see. And we are going to talk about all of that right here when AEW Unrestricted continues. Unrestricted. AEW Unrestricted. It's Aubrey and Will with our guest, Bobby Cruz.
Yes.
Bobby, we were just talking a little bit about some of the names you've gotten to see come through Ring of Honor. And what's interesting is not just the names, but the eras of Ring of Honor, right? Because like when you think about those early years, and you've got the HDNet years, you've got those the Jim Cornette era. There's so many different time periods that Ring of Honor went through, and you got to experience it all. You got to really get to know these guys in ways that is folklore to the rest of us, which I think is really interesting when you really think about it. Because part of if Ring of Honor never operated another day after Tony bought it, it's kind of easy to say that there's still a lot of value there, simply because Ring of Honor was such a foundation for so many aspects of professional wrestling today. When you look around, everywhere you look in professional wrestling, whether you're looking over when you see guys like Seth Rollins, you see guys like Kevin Owens, you see guys like Sami Zayn, and you look over on our brand and you see guys like Bryan Danielson, and you see Samoa Joe, and you see, everywhere you look, Ring of Honor has a footprint. Adam Cole. I want to make sure I didn't leave out any names. The Young Bucks, Hangman Adam Page. There's so many names that Ring of Honor was responsible for bringing to prominence in the wrestling world. And again, you got to experience it all. What were some of those regime changes like, and having to essentially kind of hold on and kind of grit your teeth as things are kind of getting rocky and changing?
Yeah, it was interesting. I came into Ring of Honor basically the same year that Cary Silkin became the sole owner of it. And I think that's why he made the call that he made about wanting me to be the ring announcer. I've always said that Steve Corino and Cary were really the two that helped my career the most, because Steve got me out of New England and Cary made the call for me to be in Ring of Honor. And here we are 20 years later, and it's been a ride. So, but there's a couple of times it's been a little scary, because I remember, the HDNet thing was big for us. It was owned by Mark Cuban at the time, and we had never done TV. We were, DVD underground company, had done a couple taped pay-per-views that aired on
Trading Ring of Honor DVDs was a time, by the way. That was
Hey, it's crazy. I was going through a spare room. I have so many. They used to, if you appeared on an event, they gave you the DVD when it came out. So I have like hundreds in packages because now we just look at Honor Club, right? But the DVDs back then was the only way. And it's like I was on every show. So I have all these DVDs. So.
As a podcaster, I used to do giveaways of Ring of Honor DVDs back in like 2005, 2006, because it's like, if you want to see Joe and Kobashi, this is how you're going to watch that match. And that's how it went. So it's great to think back that, like, it's hard to explain to young people today that that's how you had to get them. That's how you were going to see those matches.
You couldn't just go and watch something on streaming. What was streaming?
Yeah, exactly. But getting back to your question, I remember when Gabe Sapolsky was let go. We had a show in Edison, New Jersey. I was driving back from it a Saturday night, and Cary called me and he told me that he let Gabe go. And I thought the world would be falling then, because Gabe was Ring of Honor. Gabe was there from day one of creating Ring of Honor, and it was he came up with some stuff that in my booking mind I could never even dream of. So just some really awesome stuff. So I always thought, like, Gabe, if there's a Ring of Honor, Gabe will be the booker. Which isn't real life. Everything ends, and there's burnout, and there's just tenure and everything. So Adam Pearce was then made the booker, which at the time he was wrestling still, and kind of caught me off guard. Cary and I talked all the time, but I was kind of blindsided with the thought of Pearce. Pearce was a funny one, because when Gabe brought him in to be a wrestler, I think his first night with us was in Long Island, and he had gotten my email from Gabe, and he dropped me an email, which I never had expected. I'd never met Adam before or anything, and he literally said, I've watched you over the years. I always wanted to be in Ring of Honor, to get to Ring of Honor and have you introduce me. I think you're awesome and this and that. And we kind of just bonded from there, because I always, when I started to get to know him, I thought he was a complete jerk, to be honest with you. And then we started talking, and then when he took over, I became, he to this day would say that I was his right-hand man. I was kind of person he would bounce booking stuff off of, but I was also booking all the extras back then. There were some people that are in AEW now, like Adam Cole, that literally came, their first times were coming to Ring of Honor at the 2300 Arena when we taped HDNet, and when Pierce was the booker and I was booking dark matches and stuff like that. So then when Pierce got let go, it was like, okay, now what are we going to do? And again, I didn't see this coming, but Delirious gets made the booker. Mm-hmm. I had no idea. Carrie tells me, I'm going to make Hunter the booker. I'm like, okay. And that's kind of when Cornette came back in as well. Cornette had been in TNA, and his time kind of ended. And I was no longer doing any of the behind-the-scenes stuff I had been doing. I just went back to doing ring announcing stuff. And then just to fast forward, when Sinclair Broadcast Group bought it, there were all sorts of rumors of who was buying the company. Like, it wasn't a secret that Carrie had pretty much stretched himself as far as he could financially, keeping the company alive. He did that several times. And so we were in Chicago Ridge at one of our go-to arenas, the Frontier Fieldhouse in Chicago Ridge. And we were told we were going to have a pre-show meeting. And a few people from the Sinclair Broadcast Group came in and said they bought the company, and they were going to make it a weekly TV show on all their affiliates, kind of old school style. It's kind of like a syndication thing. And that's how we were until TK comes and saves the day.
Oh, man. It's absolutely wild. It's also just like, as a shout out to Carrie, like, wrestling is very expensive to put on.
No.
Like, I even see like my buddies locally who are running indie shows, and like, if you're able to break even, you are extremely successful. I don't think people understand like the just amount of money that goes into talent, lighting, production, the ring, travel, everything. So I think that's the thing that I appreciate about Ring of Honor so much, is it's like, it's always been this sort of like small underground, like gritty thing that survived for so long. Mm-hmm. And as a result, created so many stars and so much history and so many memorable moments that we still reference to this day.
Yeah. Just to your point, we've talked about helped create many stars, right? I believe stars create stars. Stars create themselves, but they need the exposure. They need the opportunities to go and learn.
Correct.
And stuff. But that they have it, they're going to have it eventually. And but you hit the perfect word right there. It's like memorable moments. Mm-hmm. Everyone knows about the stars, but to really, if you took a step back and just looked at memorable moments in Ring of Honor history, it's absolutely wild. Like, I've been asked in the past, so what's your favorite moment or your favorite few moments? And it's so difficult because, like Will, you were talking about earlier, you don't want to stop mentioning names of people who are in AEW or whatever that were in Ring of Honor, because you're always going to leave people out. And that's it's impossible not to. So yeah. I do that all the time. And of course I bring up Joe versus Kobashi, because that atmosphere was unbelievable. And standing in the middle of the ring in Liverpool in front of a sold-out crowd for Nigel and Bryan, where the fans knew they were going to see something awesome because it's Nigel and Bryan. It's Nigel's home country, of course. And they also knew that they were going to basically see history, because the pure title and the world title were going to be unified that night. But there's just so much stuff. I mean, Jay Briscoe winning the world title, and Jay versus Jay, Lethal versus Briscoe in New York City, title for title. There's just so much stuff it just piles up.
So what was it like doing Supercard of Honor at Madison Square Garden? Because that's a dream venue for me.
MSG ended up being something that was a wake-up call for me. And what I mean by that is I don't think I not enjoyed it as much. I don't think that I took it all in as much as I should have, because it was kind of chaos. We're there early in the day. We're doing some stuff we had really never done before, production wise. We had, obviously, New Japan was co-running the event with us, so a New Japan ring announcer was there that I was working with. We'd have a separate meeting with just myself, their ring announcer, the translator, about how we were going to do things. And next thing you know, it's pretty much ready to go. And I wish I took it in more. It was able to. So ever since then, I have. Like, even, when, say, a couple of years ago, when there'd be a Ring of Honor World Title match on Dynamite somewhere, and I would just be coming in and doing that one match. Like, I would take everything in. And that's what I do every time I'm in an arena, or I go back somewhere, or just I try and soak everything in, because it's not going to last forever. And I'm so appreciative of the opportunity that I get to still keep going doing this. And really, other than MSG, this is the biggest stage that Ring of Honor's ever been on. Running events at AEW, or announced Madison Square Garden the past couple of years, or a few years. Madison Square Garden, the Kia Forum, and Wembley Stadium. Like, right there, I could be done. Okay, I'm done. That's it. Stuff I never thought I would do. But MSG, of course, was special because it's MSG, and I was a huge Howard Finkel guy. Watching Howard has made me want to become a ring announcer, and so that was really special to be able to stand in the arena that he dominated as a ring announcer for so long.
Wow. Oh, man.
I do have to say, though, as a Boston native, did a piece of you die just a little bit, just being in Madison Square Garden and just thinking, like...
Good question.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's funny, I never thought I would do Madison Square Garden, so that was awesome. Now, the past couple of years with AEW, being able to do TD Garden.
I was going to say, you've got to do TD Garden.
Yeah, there was, I think the first time, right? 2023 was...
2023 was the first TD Garden. That was Blood and Guts.
That's the one where I didn't have anything. We weren't doing Ring of Honor or anything that night, but, that's the arena that I've gone to hockey games with my daughters and so forth, and that's our team, where our teams play. So I text Mike Mansouri a couple of days before, and I said, hey, do you think I could just do a dark match? So I can say I announced in TD Garden to be really special. And ended up doing the dark match that night, which was cool. We got something coming up here that I'm praying we do some ROH for in Providence. Providence is my building. As much as TD Garden meant to me, Providence would mean even more. It's the old Providence Civic Center. Then it became the Dunkin' Donuts Center. Now it's the AMP, the Amica Mutual Pavilion. But to me, the Providence Civic Center.
November 7th.
November 7th. It's a Thursday Collision taping. So I'm hoping we get some ROH that night, too.
I'm on that show.
It's 30 minutes from my house, but...
Oh, look at that.
Doesn't hurt.
But that building specifically, that's where I used to go as a young teenager every month to go see house shows and so forth. That building really... My grandfather used to take me. So it really has a lot of sentimental value. I've always just said, that's another one. Just give me one match in that building and I'll be thrilled. So hopefully November 7th, Providence, let's do it.
Hell yeah. Oh my God.
Well, we've got a lot more to get to. This has been such a great conversation, and there's still so much more to talk about. We're going to hit you back at this third portion of the show right here when AEW Unrestricted continues.
Unrestricted.
AEW Unrestricted, Aubrey and Will having an awesome conversation with ring announcer extraordinaire Bobby Cruise, who, if you're watching the YouTube edition, we've seen 3 different versions of Bobby now as the light has changed position multiple times in his house. I love it. The reality of broadcasting.
Twilight in New England in the fall. This is what we deal with.
Hey, but now we get nice fall decorations in this
There
one.
we go.
So there we go. It's awesome. Making it special. Anyway, speaking of special, kind of hard to not talk about ROH and AEW without eventually talking about All In and how special it was in 2018 in Chicago. At the time, it was the Sears Center. How did you get involved in the history-making show?
It was funny. I was getting asked because it quickly became in vogue to be all in. Are you all in? Are you all in? So
I was very jealous.
The Bucks would, we'd have Ring of Honor events, and the Bucks would ask me, "Bob, you all in?" And I'm like, "I don't know. You guys are going to tell me. Like, am I all in?" But
it's your show,
right? Yeah. So finally, we had a show in New York City, and they said, somebody told me, like, "Bob, you're all in." I said, "Okay," and which is great because I knew it was going to be really cool. And I remember being in Chicago. We had a show, Ring of Honor show in Chicago. The day tickets went on sale. I want to say it was like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and they sold out in less than 30 minutes. And I saw the Elite, and I saw the management of Sinclair Broadcast Group that was on site that night, and just kind of high-fiving each other because the thing had sold out so quickly. So, and then we were in England on a Ring of Honor loop, and standing outside the hotel waiting for the bus. I don't know why I remember these little details, but
those are the fun ones.
I was approached about.
Makes for a great podcast.
There we go. I was approached about, hey, what do you think about Justin doing the show with you? So because I know there was concern about they didn't want it to just look like a ROH show with some other people thrown in. You know what I mean? Like, yes, there was talent that had never appeared in ROH that was going to be used on All In, but they wanted it to have a completely different look and sound. Ian's on commentary. Obviously, I'm ring announcing. The ref Paul was refereeing as well, but there was also a mixture of outside talent, and that's the way they wanted it to be. Kind of like an all-star show is the way it was explained to me.
It's almost like a forbidden door was opened or something.
Yeah. And I said, good one. So I said, Justin, that's great. I'd never worked with Justin. We had talked over the years, but we'd never worked together. So I thought it'd be really cool, and it was great to kind of sit back and and take some stuff in as if it was his turn. We pretty much just swapped every other match to make it simple. And I remember Delirious he's the one that formatted the show. The week before we were in Philly, and he showed me the format to kind of look over and kind of see if I saw anything that stuck out. And one of the first things it says, coming on the air was Justin was introducing the person singing the national anthem. And he said, why Justin's doing it? And I said, it doesn't even matter why. I'm not even thinking about it because I did the match assignments as far as what Justin did, what I did. And, so I did but as far as, so I did the matches for us, but the national anthem thing I didn't even think of or whatever. It's well, it's just we don't want to come up on the air and the first thing people see and hear is you, and they think ROH. I'm like, well, that makes perfect. You don't have to explain that, but it makes perfect sense. So Let's do it.
Damn.
Well, and I think, yeah, and it's not anything against you, but I can almost understand that at the time, I remember that show needed to feel as not ROH as possible.
Yes.
That it needed to feel like its own thing, and because for a lot of people it was, right? When you really think about All In, when you think about how it was branded, how it looked, the venue it was running, everything about it felt like, oh, this is something. This is more. This is more than just what we've seen from Ring of Honor all this time. This feels like a bigger thing, and so to that extent, I can almost understand the idea that. Because at the end of the day, when you think about production and who was like footing a lot of the bill for a lot of that stuff, it was Ring of Honor.
Right.
But it needed to not look like Ring of Honor. And so like I understand that to an extent. But then also it's like, but it's Bobby Cruise. And like there's a uniqueness to what Bobby Cruise offers. And the fact that this was reaching beyond what Ring of Honor ever offered or ever even reached. I mean, it's another way to say like you're introducing this new voice to people. So there's two minds about it.
Yeah, I remember that actually Justin that night, because he was going to be literally the first ring announcer, the first person in the ring, when we came on the air. And he was a little concerned that he's like fans, how they would react to him, because he hadn't been doing wrestling for a few years at that point. By that point, that they forget him. But I said, Justin, you're announced on television for whatever, a dozen years. Mm-hmm. You're from Chicago. This show is in Chicago.
Yes.
I said, there's going to be no issue. You're going to be and he got in the ring before we came up on the air as we were waiting to come up live, and a bunch of fans are chanting, Justin Roberts, Justin. He kind of looked down at me at the table. I looked back at him, and I'm like, yeah, see? No worries. No worries.
Everybody gets in their own head about things. But coming out of that show, could you feel it? Could you feel like, okay, this is about to be something that's probably going to change the wrestling world. This is going to be something that's going to continue for the rest of the foreseeable future.
There was talk of, we'll do it again next year. Basically, I'd heard that, right? It was so successful. Let's do it again next year. But I was close with the Bucks. We talked a lot. We've always gotten along. It's always a mutually respectful relationship we've had. And I had known their deal was coming up, and I'd known some other guys' deals were coming up, and things may have not been going so great on the negotiation side with Sinclair Broadcast Group. So never in my wildest dreams, it might have been a nightmare back then because I'm like, oh, they're leaving me behind. But now it's a dream, right? We're all in the same place, so it's great. Never in my wildest dreams did I think that they would go on to help create a company that is just as massive and as awesome as AEW. And I don't just say that because I have a contract. I say that because it's true. I used to watch the stuff, especially during COVID, because we would go tape down in Baltimore, Ring of Honor, like 2 or 3 days, and we'd be off for like 2 months. So it was like I wasn't seeing any wrestling except when I would watch Dynamite and so forth. So, and just to see what old friends were up to, and the product was so good and just different and exciting. I was really into it, and to see old friends doing well and doing stuff, it was great. But I guess it would have been interesting to see if Sinclair Broadcast Group would have blown them away with an offer. Would have this still gone this way? Who knows? I'm glad it went the way it did because pretty much, TK's been so awesome, especially when it comes to the ROH side of even if it's just a sporadic one-off for TV or a pay-per-view or something, like TK knows Ring of Honor. TK respects Ring of Honor. It's not just, let's put up an honor club. People can go watch Joe and Kapashi 50 times. No, it's like, original content every week. And so we've done some really, really cool stuff with what we tape weekly for Ring of Honor. And just like, the Ring of Honor, I think every Ring of Honor title has been defended on AEW programming, which is really cool too. It's not just, it's just Ring of Honor and we're going to tape it here, we're going to tape it there and put it on Honor Club and 3 times a year have a Ring of Honor pay-per-view. No, is
it just the women's TV title at this point that hasn't?
Yeah, that's probably the only one.
Because it's new.
Yeah.
Thanks for correcting me, Will. Yes, because
I was thinking about that.
Because
I was really going in my brain, and I'm like, is that the only one that hasn't been defended? And
as Red Velvet watches this and texts me, text me.
Like, hey, Bobby.
But that one obviously is the newest one. But that's it's just been really, really good. It sounds so corny. I say it all the time. I've had this conversation with Mike Mansouri multiple times where I just feel so blessed to still be doing this and doing it. And I think at a high level on AEW programming in front of the fans that we have, the crew. I mean, this crew is like awesome that I get to work with backstage and in the truck. And it's, it's just, I really, really feel blessed.
Yeah. For people who don't know, we have about between 200 and 250 people, staff, crew, talent, like everybody every week at TV. So to be a part of that team, like it sounds like a lot of people, but it's actually really small. So to be a part of that group that does live television multiple times a week is pretty damn cool. And just something that I'm glad you're grateful for. I'm grateful for. I don't want to speak for Will, but I'm pretty certain he's grateful for it as well.
I am. Are you kidding me? Pinching myself every week.
Hey, before we go, I always like hearing Jay Briscoe stories from people who worked with him so much in Ring of Honor. Do you have a Jay Briscoe story that stands out in your mind?
I probably can't swear, right? So
you can
within reason.
I'm not going to. I said F before. I said the letter. So Jay Briscoe. I have a lot of Jay Briscoe stories, obviously, over 20 years. But what a treasure, and not only a talent, but just that whole family. Just to be around them, it's just awesome. But there was a time where every event we had for Ring of Honor, we would pass each other in the halls or see each other by the ring in the afternoon or something. And he was one of the few people that I ever allowed to call me Bob. I hate that I hate that name, Bob. I just don't like it. I'm a junior, so that was my father, and I like Bobby, and I think it sounds more like showbizy too, Bobby.
It does.
People think my name's fake, which is whatever, because the way it's spelled, like Tom
My
Cruise.
name is, so it's fine.
But anyway, so we would see each other, and he would just, the first thing after maybe we'd have a quick hug, we'd part ways. I'm walking away. Bob, don't F it up. And I said, okay. And it didn't matter like what match. We didn't even know. It could have been 10 matches on the card. Like, don't F up any of them, basically. But then he'd have a world title match or something. We'd be doing like the old school in-ring intros, and he would come in. And he's doing his beauty shots and everything. And he would turn to me, Bob, don't F it up. And do the in-ring intros. He's have his match. We're done. I'd see him afterwards and give a high five or a hug. And he's like, Bob, you didn't F it up. Good job. Same thing every time. It used to crack him up that I would, because sometimes I would really put it over and be like, man, would you stop? Enough. I'm not, it's going to get in my head. I'm going to F it up. But no, that's just one of the small things. Just a really, really fun guy to be around.
Oh
man, we miss him so much, and I think the world misses him. And you could see his footprint pretty much, or his fingerprints, I should say, everywhere you look in AEW, Ring of Honor, wherever it is. It just feels like he touched everybody in some way, shape, or form.
And I just want to follow up with that real quick. I know we're running out of time, but just go back to TK again. The respect that he has for Ring of Honor, but Ring of Honor's history and the people in it. What happened with Jamin obviously is a tragic thing, but the way we have continued to honor him, with the ladder match at Supercard, the Jay Briscoe Reach for the Sky match, Jay being having kind of his likeness on the title belts, on the side plates and stuff.
That was the cool one.
Yeah, just really, really cool stuff that I think it takes someone special like TK and his passion for everything he does. But, one of those things is now Ring of Honor to just, little details that are really, really cool.
It's so good, man. It's like, that's the beauty of wrestling, right? Like the relationships you make with people and the connections that are fostered that I don't know of any other sort of performance, physicality, live entertainment where something like this happens on a consistent basis. We're literally a traveling circus and we just get to see each other more than we see our own family. And it's so absolutely incredible.
Right. Anyway, yep. I'm fired back. I'm getting on the road here coming up again. I'm ready to go. I'm excited. I'm hopping back on a Collision for a week. And I'm really, really excited. Arkady's got a personal engagement to attend to. So I'm really jacked up about getting back out there with you guys.
She was telling me how excited you were to fill in for her. So I love that there's camaraderie along the announcers.
She's been great and so respectful. We had a heart-to-heart one day. She's like, you're not mad I'm going on Collision? I'm like, no, I was just like the foster dad until you were ready to come adopt. You know what I mean? I was just keeping the microphone and the seat warm until you're ready to go. But she's doing great, and she's a really good person. I really enjoy working with her. So yeah, I can handle it for a night. I got it, Arks. Don't worry.
Oh yeah, she could take care of it. It's great. Well, this whole conversation's been great. Thank you so much, Bobby, for stopping by the studio and moving your computer frequently throughout your house so that we could see your beautiful face. Really appreciate it. Follow Bobby on Twitter, Real Bobby Cruz, and of course you can listen and follow this podcast, AEW Unrestricted, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all of the fun podcast apps. Check out video episodes of this podcast on our YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button. They come out roughly on Mondays. Catch all of the latest AEW shows on the go when you download the TNT and TBS apps from the App Store and Google Play. Then sign up for a weekly newsletter at tntdrama.com/EliteFleet to get updates on the upcoming shows, live events, sweepstakes, merchandise, and more. Dynamite TBS Wednesdays, Rampage TNT Fridays, AEW Collision live Saturdays TNT, and of course don't forget ROH streams literally every Thursday on Honor Club. Listen to this beautiful voice of Bobby Cruz there, as well as all of the history, like 20 plus year history of Ring of Honor on there. I am Aubrey Edwards with Will Washington. Thank you so much for listening to AEW Unrestricted.